Hello, everybody, and welcome. My name is Julie Mann. I am a professional network marketer. I'm an actor, and I'm also an EFT practitioner. And today I'm joined by culture coach, Sara Emhof. Hi, Sara.
Hello, nice to be here.
Great to see you. So before we start talking about what it is that you do now, love to know about your journey. What was it like growing up? What steps did you have to take that led you to where you are now?
That's a big question. The journey from the beginning. I think really the journey. I grew up in actually in Buffalo, New York, so like kind of middle America, blue collar, working class, kind of experience. And my parents worked hard, and I also grew up in kind of a like white suburb. And so I had a great family, a loving family. And one of the turning points for me was actually in high school. I was like a freshman and I was very quiet and I was sort of introverted. And I was observing that those that were extroverted were like more successful. And I remember making this sort of judgment call for myself that if you're going to do well in this world, you need to get out of your shell. You need to crack that. So I decided to run for student government and then won the office that I was. And it gave me that confidence to say like my voice matters and to speak up. And then from there, I actually was in a youth leadership program that brought together students from all over our area. And I met students that lived in rural areas and that lived right in the heart of the city and that went to private elite schools. And I just felt like, wow, I don't know that much. And some of the assumptions I have about people are wrong. And so I think that was a really good tipping point of me just being curious about the world after that, because I realized that, meeting kids that lived in the inner city had so much in common and different things. And it just made me a curious person. And I continued in leadership development and youth engagement. So that's one of those things that really just made me think there's so much to know in the world, and I want to help other people know what's out there and get curious. So I continued in student government and studied political science and went to school to actually teach like the humanities, history, and politics. And it really just stuck with me. And I wound up in Washington, D.C. doing that, teaching young people from all over the United States how democracy works and helping them understand their political identity and where those beliefs are formed and talk with other students from around the country. So all pretty good story, great things, but it's really become my lifeblood of creating those experiences for people to connect with others that are different from them and learn from it. And so that's really that journey. And sure we'll get into it later, but I've also suffered with anxiety and depression through parts of my life too. So that's also given me different life lessons and increased compassion for myself and for others as well.
Well, that leads on to my next question, because I was actually going to ask you what obstacles you've had to overcome. So clearly anxiety is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you deal with that?
Yeah, the first time I ever experienced, it was depression first. And it was when I was in college and I didn't know what was going on. So I wasn't helping it. And so it got bad. It was new to me. And I was playing soccer, but got injured on the soccer team. So I was on the team, but not playing. And while I was going to the athletic training room, trying to get better, my other friends that didn't play soccer had all gone off and joined sororities and fraternities and whatnot. And I really realized, it took me a while, but it made me realize that moving my body and being physically active and being connected to a group of people, right? Being socially connected. Those are the two things I need to be happy and healthy. And so I learned that. And as I have struggled with anxiety and up and down, I usually check in on those two things. Am I physically moving my body? Am I being active? And do I feel connected? Do I feel supported by a group of people? And sometimes that means that I need to reach out and I need to start those connections again, or just move more often. And it doesn't have to be something big; it could just be a walk. So that's one of the things. And I entered into my holistic life coach training at one point because I was teaching middle school and anxiety came back. My world was a bunch of seventh graders. I really didn't have much adult interaction during the day. And I decided I wanted to be a massage therapist. I thought that sounded easier than being a middle school teacher. So I started looking for massage therapy schools and came across this one school that offered a holistic health life coach training. And I remember meeting with the director for the massage therapy program. And I said, I think I want to do this life coach training instead. I said, but I'm not a massage therapist. It was like a program set up kind of for that. And she said, well, that's okay. And I said, I'm a teacher. And she said, we actually have like university professors that take this program and they're using it in the classroom. And I was like, well, perfect. So that program was a year long and created a lot of community and really transformed me and helped me understand myself and my triggers and anxiety and just how to live more authentically, really. Wow. So that was a great extension of some of the knowledge I already knew about what I needed, was training in understanding the brain and the body and being in community with people who were doing it with me.
Wow. Is anxiety something that you still experience, Sara? Or have you completely, that's handled?
Yeah, that's handled. Yeah, no, it still is. It still is. And, but my experience with it is so different. I catch it when it's just starting and I have a conversation with it. And I'm able to say, this is how you feel today. And it doesn't mean you're going to feel that way tomorrow. And so the snippets of it are much lighter. And I think it will always be part of me. And it's okay. I love to think, I love to dream, I love to problem solve. So my brain is kind of wired to think hard and to wonder about how we could do it better or what's not working. And I like that about myself. And as a result, I can also get into anxious thoughts. So now it's just managing it. And it's much more easily managed.
So it sounds like the conversation that you have with that anxious part of you is a very compassionate conversation.
Yes.
You're kind to that part of you.
Yeah, it is. And that's made a huge difference. Instead of why can't you just get yourself together? You have so much to be grateful for. Why are you shouldn't be worrying about this? Or, there's so many people that have so much less than you. Instead, it's, okay, I hear you. And I acknowledge myself. That's a huge tool, is acknowledgement. When I hear the voices of kind of anxiety coming up, I stop and say, I hear you. And then I immediately acknowledge myself for 3 things I've done that day. And let that self-compassion come up and say, hey, you took a shower today. You didn't have to. You got to the grocery store today. You didn't have to. You gave a compliment to that stranger. And it just shuts up the anxiety.
Yeah, powerful. And so simple as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So of all the lessons that you've learned in your life up until now, what's been the most valuable?
Goodness, of all the lessons I've learned, what's been the most valuable? I feel like it's about social connection. And at the end of the day, if you're not feeling connected to yourself, like your true self, what's true for you, and you're not feeling connected to something bigger than you, whether it's other human beings or, spirit or whatnot, that's where anxiety creeps up, because anxiety is telling me something's off. You're not connected to yourself right now. You're doing things that are inauthentic, or, anxiety's messages, you need to go reconnect with people. You need to get that. So I think it's really that social connection is my lifeblood.
And statistics prove that there's a direct correlation between community and happiness, don't they?
Yeah, it's amazing. I'm so grateful for the researchers out there that are showing this, because I agree. It's your social connection is actually a better predictor of your health and your lifelong happiness than fitness levels. And I don't tell people to stop working out, but make sure if you're working out, like, are you hanging out with good people as well?
Yeah. So I know that your work involves team building workshops, in-house performance coaching, leadership coaching. Why do you think there is a need for the services that you provide?
I am so grateful this year. We've been through the ringer of 2020 with the pandemic and COVID, but I feel like this is the year that we're realizing how important social connection is. And it's been taken away from us in a lot of ways, or it's more challenging. And I worked remotely for 8 years for an organization that I loved, and a mission that I loved. And I left ultimately because I lost my sense of belonging. I was over here, a little island, working really hard, caring a lot. And I would often get left out of important conversations or miss the connections with the coworkers. And not because anybody was trying to push me out. It was just laziness, of she's not in the office, like, we'll have a conversation with the people that are right in front of me about this decision. And over time, I just felt really isolated and lonely within an organization that I loved. And so this year, as I saw a mass number of people going remote, one of my first thoughts was, wow, I don't want them to experience what I experienced. And so how can I create team building activities or help to coach and train leaders to say, there's a new challenge in town, and it's called belonging. How are you going to help your employees continue to feel like they belong and that they're connected when they're all separate and at home and trying to connect through a computer? So I think this year it's made it more clear than ever. And the same goes for family and friends as well. We're all trying to stay connected, but I think that this year, especially for organizations, the ones that will thrive are the ones that really know how to create a culture that makes people feel like they're important, they're valued, and they belong, even if they're miles away.
Right. I couldn't agree more. I love one of your testimonials. It just so appeals to me. It says, we saw a whole new level of engagement and had an absolute blast. I love that, because I'm all about the fun. So in your opinion, what does having fun make things more powerful? And are there any, does having fun equate to tangible results for people?
That's a really good question. Thanks for asking that. I really believe that this year in particular, it's been a heavy year, and I've studied a lot of the brain. And if we are in fight or flight mode, and if our fear center is triggered, we do not think as clearly. We cannot think creatively. And so I believe that right now, playing and having fun And connecting with people is actually the answer to better outcomes, because it lets people relax and start to think long term and outside the box. And that is what's needed right now. The world has changed forever. We're not going back. Some things will come back, but the world is really changed forever. So we need new solutions, new ideas. And if your brain you're not flexing those muscles, you're not going to be resilient or adaptable. And if you're a leader, you're going to be responding, you're going to be reacting, not planning and making strategies. So I do think that it's important. It's not all just fun and game. It is, but the fun part is that you can create big change through fun. Change doesn't have to be hard. I think we assume that, and it can be hard. But what if we actually embrace the fact that change can be fun? Transformation can happen through fun. And I do use some tools. I have a great partnership with 2 Days Mood, is a Netherlands-based company, and they measure like mood and happiness at work. So I am able with companies to say, well, we're going to do these fun activities that have research behind them, but let's track how your employees are feeling and how connected they're feeling, and how connected they feel to the mission of the organization after the series of these activities. So it can be measurable, which is fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. So if there's someone watching, Sarah, and they really want their team to be more connected, what would you suggest? Are there some simple things that they could do?
Mm. Yeah, I think there's a lot of teams out there wanting to be more connected. I would say, first of all, if you're the team leader, and ask yourself if this is authentic for you. Because if it's not authentic for you to be the clown at work, it's not going to come across well with your employees. They're not going to trust you, because if you're Mr. organized, detailed, straight faced, and all of a sudden you come in and throw out hey guys, let's do a game, people are going to be confused. And it's okay. Don't be something that you're not. So if that's the case, I would recommend find someone on the team who is naturally that way. Think about someone on the team who is authentically the clown or fun, and give them the baton and say, hey, could you help me out in this next meeting? Could you start in with an icebreaker, or could you come up with a game that we could do at the beginning to just literally break the ice and get people thinking outside the box? And if you are that kind of person and you're the leader, fantastic. Create routine in your meetings. It could be playing a song at the beginning of your meeting, just so that when people enter and come in, they're entering into, a nice fun song that you can talk about. Or just giving people the first few minutes with a prompt to get to know each other. And the breakout rooms, if you have those in Google Meets and Zoom, let people break out into smaller groups and just talk in pairs or threes for a few minutes. And so it's not a group of 20 all trying to talk over each other. Give people small spaces to just connect, and then get your business started.
Great. Obviously, you're all about culture. Why would you say culture is so important?
I say culture is your number one asset or your number one liability. And it's really true, because your culture will determine your, the level of your turnover, and turnover is expensive. It's going to determine engagement and how much your employees are driven to do things better, smarter. And also, if your culture is not good, your customers will notice. And we've all been to one of those stores that we like, or one of the, the companies whose products we like, and we've had a bad customer service experience, and it lands hard, and we remember it. And I care about how the people are treated. So if I notice that people are really disgruntled, that reflects poorly on the business. So culture is important internally for keeping your people working at their best and sticking around and recruiting your next employee. But externally, your clients notice it. If your employees love working where they want to work, then people want to be part of it.
Yeah. I know that you started huddles, haven't you? So would you like to tell us what a huddle is?
Yeah. Um, so a huddle, I birthed the huddle at the beginning of COVID. And I basically had always wanted to bring together 10 of the most interesting people I knew. I traveled a lot in my previous job. And so I had just met so many interesting people from all different places. And I had thought for a while, like, oh my gosh, I wish I could get these people all in a room for like a weekend and create experiences and just see what happens. With no real agenda, just kind of like let's get you connected and you decide where this is going to go. So when COVID came along, I thought, oh, well, like I could just get them all into a Zoom room. I don't have to plan and get them to fly here and do this whole thing. So I called up a bunch of people and said, hey, I'm bringing together 10 amazing people. You're one of them. And I want to bring you into this Zoom room. So I did. And I created an experience that was a team building experience, really a community building experience. I wanted them to be friends as quickly as possible. And it was so wonderful. And what happened is they had so much fun. I said, well, hey, what if you invited a stranger, someone you think is really amazing? And next week we have 10 new strangers in the room. And they're not going to come back. The original 10 didn't come back. This was like a whole new 10. And so that's what we did. And so the next week I did the same thing with 10 strangers that I didn't know. And then they invited someone. It became this trail of strangers. And so that's where it started. And from there, people said, oh my gosh, this is fantastic. Can you do this for my company? Like my company needs this. My school needs this. One entrepreneur was like, can you do this with my clients? Because I'm trying to keep engaged with them. And this would be fantastic. So that's what happened. The huddle just kind of was born from there. And I still do them with strangers, which is amazing. Creative collisions of strangers. And then with companies and organizations.
I love creative collisions. Fabulous.
Yeah.
What a brilliant idea. If someone wants to find out more about you, Sara, how would they do that?
Yeah, so they can head to the Moga Living, MOGA, mogaliving.com website. And you can learn if you want to join our invite list for one of our huddles, you can do that. And if you're an organization or a company and you're looking for a team builder and support, there's information on there as well. And if you are looking specifically for coaching or culture training, I also have my website at saraemhof.com, and you can kind of get a deeper dive into some of the more strategic culture coach offerings that I have.
Fabulous. So finally, if you could be remembered for anything, what would you like to be remembered for?
I think creating community through creativity. Just bringing people together in creative ways.
Love that.
Yeah.
Sara Emhof, thank you so very much.
Oh, thank you. Wonderful questions. It's been nice to spend this time with you.